So before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about yoga, big picture. The root word of the word yoga originally meant yoke, like the mechanism used to tether oxen or cattle to each other or to a car, to chariot. That idea of connecting. So yoga is about connection. It's not about fitness. It's not about fashion. It's not about playlists. Those phenomena have all sort of wiggled their way into modern postural yoga. But connection is what it's about. And the capacity to connect varies from person to person on the outer levels. But the theory is, the suggestion is historically, that we all have the capacity to connect. And the original meaning of yoging in the old ancient texts of yoga are specific about connecting to a higher aspect of oneself. Your greater self, your superhero self, your divine self is what it's really meant in the ancient literature, divine self. And depending on what kind of lens or filter you use for that notion of divine, if that divinity is outside of you, like in a more religious context of Christianity or Muslim or Judaism, that there's this Godhead, this figurehead that we can devote ourselves to, connect to. If you're atheistic realm, then it's more like your own better self, your infinite self, your soul, the undying self. So big picture, that's what we're after all the time, even when we're not on the mat. But when we come onto the mat, there's all these micro connections we can make, as if it were some sort of dress rehearsal or some sort of practice or some sort of ongoing inquiry around the depth of our capacity to feel. So connecting with the layers of the skin, the sinew, or connecting with the chambers of the heart, or connecting with the breath, or the relative smoothness, or any kind of quality of movement. And these micro versions of connecting, in theory, help to fertilize the ground or make us more prone to connecting in general. And so these little practice moments of connections are all in the service of the ongoing inquiry about connecting to a higher source. Higher is a funny word, greater source. It could be lower, like it could be in Middle Earth. It doesn't have to be in the heavens above us, but our deeper self. My teacher would say our deeper being, our true being. And the frontal lobes, especially in humans, really developed, really evolved, really capable of figuring things out and really uncomfortable with not knowing. And we're in a major context of not knowing. And so that's a clue, it's an invitation for us to let go of some of that need to have all the answers and connect with mystery, right? The soul is mysterious. The afterlife is mysterious. I mean, plenty of traditions say they know what it is, but no one really knows. And so this constant vigilance around what am I connecting to? So surface being, habitual behavior, habitual responses, old coping mechanisms that don't provide us access to the deeper felt sense of what's really going on. Like all that stuff is easy. So the frontal lobes tend to keep us trapped there. I'm going to invite you to come back further into the brain stem, into some of the older mechanisms of our sensory capacity, both external sensing and interoception, they call it, to sense inward. So from whatever shape you're in now, find a position to rest in. I'm going to let this other fuzzy being connect with us by coming into the room. So either sitting down or laying down. You could even be standing.
You know, your little Zafu.
That was for the cat, not for you guys. And then I invite you to, with your awareness, touch into the frontal lobes of your brain. So thinking about the frontal lobes is a very different technique than feeling into. Bring your awareness. So frontal lobes are about thinking. Awareness is more hindbrain, brainstem. And allow the capacity for awareness to start at the front tips of your brain, and then like a slow tide coming in, let the awareness wash back behind the ears, back into the cerebellum, and then the brain stem, and pause there for a moment. Just host the awareness in that lower, more ventral part of your head and brain. Hover there with your awareness and breathe. And from that place, if you can feel down through the spinal cord, from brainstem down into the spinal cord and the neck spine, and invite the awareness to be sort of like a warm flow, maybe warm honey or some kind of warm fluid seeping, pouring down to the inside of the rib cage. So not the outer surface of the ribs that touch your skin, but the inner surface of the ribs that interface with the lungs. And hosting your awareness around the circumference, the circle, the inner circle of the rib cage, from all the way behind the collarbones to down where the bottom ribs are. Bigger breaths might give you more tactile feedback. So if that helps you, do that. And hovering here with awareness gives me, and I hope it gives you, a felt sense of the movement that breath makes. But what if we go deeper into the tissue of the lungs? You know, I might think of the lungs, sometimes are talked about like big balloons, but there is mass in there. There's all sorts of blood vessels and the tiny little air sacs, the alveoli, and each one is wrapped in muscle. All of those muscles and the air sacs connect with blood vessels, so there's a density of the tissue. So can you move your awareness, flood the awareness into the tissue of the lungs themselves? You might go right to the center of each lung, start there, or the center of the heart, and move out from there. If you know the anatomy, you can visit each lobe of each lung, 5 lobes in total. Upper right, upper left, lobe on the right. Which is more in the front of the body, the middle lobe, and the middle part of the upper lobe on the left. It's just around the side of the heart. Heart takes up some space there in the left lung. And the lower lobes, right and left, which are more in the back body. And let's see if we can stay connected, not only with breath, but the felt sense of the tissues that carry the breath and distribute the oxygen throughout the body and remove the carbon dioxide from the body. And this constant process, gifting us life, right? No matter how big or small you breathe, enjoying whatever felt sense of connection, of yoging you have with your lungs. And then as you're ready, finding your way, please, to Child's Pose. For today's practice, having just your regular gear, couple blocks, blanket and a belt. So from Child's Pose, if you can, knees right together and heels, big toes and heels, the whole inseam of the legs right together. And when you land, maybe rest for a moment and then eventually give a little lift to the spine and sort of wave it forward so you get a little more length through the front of the spine. It might change your access to those lungs. And leaving the right arm out there and slide the left arm back by your body, really far back actually. And so creep right fingertip forward, left fingertips backward. It will side bend your spine a little. And from the felt sense of breath and the tissue of the lungs, can you send the prana, the energy, the heat of awareness through both arms? Eventually, left arm sweeps out to meet the right, and the right arm sweeps back and create a lot of tension between the two, a lot of reach. Left shoulder blade way high up on the back body, right shoulder blade way tucked down, somewhere in the middle of the back body. And then back to center, interlace your two hands behind you and punch the double interlaced fist back, back, back. Not up so much as back, a little bit up. And as much softness you can establish in the elbows. So the elbows are not locked out, tiny bend. And then draw the shoulder blades towards each other behind you as you flirt with taking the knuckles up and up and up. Let the shoulder heads drop forward as you bring the arms down, and take the arms forward again, pulling yourself into all fours. And let's stabilize as much as we can the spine. So neutral spine, your gaze is a little bit more towards the front of the mat. So get your neck curve online. Arms stay straight. And can you retract the shoulder blades? Maybe you bend the elbows a little, right? To make the back of the shoulder joint a little happier. And then push the floor away so that the shoulder blades slide to the side. And then soften shoulder blades towards each other. They retract and then protract them forward. So far, spine is neutral. next time shoulder blades retract, shrug them up towards the head and then push the floor away. And then depress the shoulders downward as they come retracting towards each other. So now you're making a big circle with the shoulder blades. So I talked about this in my last class, I think, maybe 2 classes ago. Movement of a joint space by way of the more proximal bone, the bone closer to your center, or movement of a joint space by the more distal bone. So we're moving the whole spine by way of the shoulders. Usually we'll move the spine around, right? We're going to do that next. So now, reverse the circle that you're making with your shoulders. So they go forward and down, back, and then together. Up, forward, back, and together. So I find this direction a little bit harder. I don't know why. And so often why doesn't matter. That's frontal lobe behavior, right? Brain stem behavior is like, oh, this. Now pause the shoulder blades, come back to child's pose. Can you come onto your tippy fingers? Creep the tippy fingers a little more forward. Let your knees be a little more apart this time. So in theory, chest is suspended, forehead down. Take a big breath in and then go ahead and shimmy your shoulders as you exhale. Breathe in. Exhale, shimmy. And again. Hands and knees, but a little more connection to where the weight in the hands is. Can you put more weight in the fingers and the knuckles than you put in your wrist? It's probably a very different thing. The fingers don't have to be hyper spread. In fact, I don't recommend it. If you look at the fingers really spread wide, like a starfish, some teachers say, see how the pinky sort of veers off at a funny angle? That's not an integrated pinky, probably. So can you just get a casual spread with the fingers and really connect with the fingers to the floor? Fingers and knuckles, more weight in the knuckles than the wrist. Now shoulders stay mostly stable and move your spine. Extend the spine, tail, and head up, and then flex the spine, tail, and head down. Shoulders stay pretty well quiet here and concentrate on moving the spine. You have several spinal curves. I'm not going to take the time to break that down, but most people cat-cow from the lumbar and the thorax. That's 2 of the 6 spinal curves. I learned 6, I teach 6. Some schools teach 3, some teach 4, some teach 5. 6. And if you're curious, ask me. Send me a note. So the short answer is, can you connect with more of your spine? And then add in the shoulders. So in the cow, the shoulders depress and retract. And in the cat, they elevate and protract. So you get a little bit more dynamic in the relationship between ribs, spine, and shoulders. And then hips to heels, interlace your hands behind you again. Heels of the hands apart, elbows soft. Bring the double interlaced fist around to your right waist. Magnetize the elbows towards each other, and then side bending the neck, right? So, and then how is your approach in that regard? Do you just let your big bowling ball head, my head too, I'm talking about all our heads, not yours personally. Do you just let it flop over, or can you connect and feel into each of those 7 little vertebrae from the base of your skull to the top of your shoulders? 7 vertebrae there. And no doubt some move more easily, so can you not go right into the easily mobile parts, but find the more resistant parts and create a balance. So any nodding or rotating of the head while you're opening left side is encouraged to find those nuances. Switch sides when you're ready. So cervical vertebra 1 through 7. And they're little bitty, which is no indication of their importance, but it is an indication of how easily disorganized they can become. The smaller the parts, the more easily overridden and taken for granted. Right? Our culture has fallen in love with bigger, better, brighter, faster, more, and that's simply unsustainable. Simply unsustainable. Back to all fours. Weight in the fingers and knuckles, not the wrists. And then right arm forward, left leg back. Pause, gather the belly. Touch elbow and knee with the cat. And then re-extend. All fours down. Left arm, right leg. Look for the connection crossways through the body, both on the lengthening side and the shortening side, and touch elbow and knee with a cat, and then extend long again, and return. Repeat or straighten the legs. Right arm, left leg lift, touch underneath, and go long, and limbs down. So in this new version, this harder version, if you cannot keep the weight in your knuckles, go back to hands and knees. Touch, long, and return. Either plank or hands and knees one more time. Long, right arm, left leg. Touch. This time, whoa. Yeah, back to all fours. Second side, left arm, right leg. Touch. And extend. And replace. Now, all 10 toes point to the left. So if you're on hands and knees, simply turn on that outer right shin. If you're in a plank pose, the feet stay staggered. And then from here, left hand on hip, whether you're on your shins or on your feet. And then can we all shoot that right leg out in front of us? And try to reach for it with your left hand. They don't have to touch. So if you're on your knees, left shin stays down, right leg goes forward. Right? And back to center, to the other side. So either 10 toes point to the right, or your 2 feet swing back to the left and you're on your outer left shin. When you shoot your left leg forward, reach for it. Don't have to touch it. And then back to all fours. From here, legs right together, shins right together. Swing the feet and the tail to the right. Minimize how much the spine C-curves in the beginning. And invite some length in the lower left side waist as you gather the right side. And then slowly swing shins to the left. And to the right again, and this time slide the hips back so the tail aims for inside the left heel. So a little outer left hip releaser, maybe. And then up, swing toes to the left, hips come back, tail trying to be to the inside of the right heel. Go ahead and let the bum land on that outer right hip Swing left leg around, cow face legs. Bring the outer forearms together like old school Madonna arms. Keep the elbows connected as you take the fingers to the sky as best as you can. This is an exhale. Then inhale, orbit the elbows, your field goal post, arms around. Squeeze the shoulder blades together without arching the back. So orbiting shoulders, arms forward around the ribs. Press outer forearms and slide fingers up. Breathing. And then open arms back. Squeeze shoulder blades together, pause here. And as if the shoulder blades were like cogs in a machine where they sort of roll against each other. Can you squeeze upper portion of shoulder blades? That might take your elbows up out a little bit. And then middle portion of shoulder blades, and then bottom tips, which will bring the elbows down. Because arms and shoulder blades flow together. Roll them up. That's the shoulder blades rolling up against each other, and then roll them down. Transitioning as you like, but I vote if you can. You take both hands over towards the top leg, and then spin the body around so you're in a little standing forward bend for a moment, facing the other direction. Well, I guess you're facing the direction you were facing, but you turn your body towards the back of the mat. Take a moment to dangle, soften and straighten the legs, maybe shimmy. And then keep turning to the right. The knees will cross and you can sit down in your cow face with the other leg on top. This time, interlace the 10 fingers. Send the palms straight out. Exhale, cat spine. See if you can get your arms around the ears. Inhale, lengthen the spine, arms go up. Keep inhaling, take your face up. Now, can you bring all those neck vertebrae in on the neck extension? Neck extension is very important, and I see a lot of teachers not teaching it, sadly. Top of the inhale here. Hold the breath if you can. Tuck the chin to the chest, still holding breath in and lifting pelvic floor and low belly. Super squeezy. And then with an exhale, release the arms, release the chin lock, release everything. Take a breath. Let's do it again with the other thumb on top. So connecting to the process of how you interlace your fingers. Breathe in and then exhale, cat, spine. Inhale, up. Look up, reach up, face up. Full lungs, hold. Lift, pelvic floor and belly. Exhale, release. Turning to the left. Finding another Uttanasana. This time I recommend sliding your hands underneath your feet if you can. If you can't really quite touch the floor, then use your blocks to get your hands to connect to the floor. And simply stay with the exploration of a forward fold, standing forward bend. Ideally, you have the capacity to extend the spine. And so this tends to put most of the forward bend in the hips, right? There's a whole big discussion we can have about that. Touching the backs of the legs more than the back of the body and back of the torso. We'll do some other forward bends where the back of the torso gets touched more, like we've already done, cat pose. From here, place your hands on the mat. Step, step down dog. We're not going to be here super long. I'm going to do a couple more things. But go ahead and pedal out the feet.
experiment with getting more weight in the knuckles and fingers here rather than the wrist. It's easier in down dog. And then coming to kneeling. Now, you might need your block for this one. I want to focus a little bit on leg strength, and I'm going to stay facing the side for the moment. As if you had a pole or a board tied to your spine or a wall, some feedback to encourage you to keep your spine vertical. So resist the urge to lean forward. And then putting all your awareness in your legs, and if any of this hurts your knees or makes them click or anything grindy, you need to sit higher. So in fact, why don't we all start higher? Why don't we all grab our 2 blocks? So instead of asking some people to back off, we'll ask other people to step it up, right? So you're quite high up here. Full length of shin, top of feet, and all 10 toenails into the floor. And what is your capacity to use your legs to come to kneeling standing? So not leaning forward to come up or to come down. So it's all legs. Any knee pain, you got to come higher. So anytime something hurts, don't do it. But see if you can find a way to interact with the basic action. It might look very different. I'm going to take 1 block away because I don't have any knee pain. So torso perfectly vertical. Lifting and lowering the hips off your blocks or off your heels. And I'm not landing anymore. I'm just touching and lifting. So strong in the thighs. So strong that I'm feeling some fatigue, and you might notice that I leaned forward a little bit here and there. I'm going to try not to. Hands can do whatever they want. I'm putting my hands in Hakini Mudra. It's all 10 fingertips together. So can you connect with the depth of muscle, all the layers of the thighs? And if it feels really surface, can you climb down those layers of muscle and find the thigh bones? And if you can find the thigh bones in your mind, yoging with your thigh bones, can you feel down through the thigh bone to the end of the femur where it articulates, slides, and rolls on top of, in this case in front of, the shin bone? And look for a smooth slide, articulation of the thigh bone sort of excursioning in front of the shin bones, and the shin bones allowing that rotation of the thigh bones. Are you feeling it? I, in fact, am very much so. So last one, up, stay up. Catch your 2 blocks. Step your right leg forward. Let the length of your left shin flow behind you. And then adding, I'm going to use my blocks for support, adding a lot of reach through the left toes. And notice if that clicks on your left hamstring. Can you use your left hamstring to support the flowing of the left thigh bone back? It's pretty important. So while you might feel opening in the left hip, there's not a lot of pressure down and forward. It should flow from the back of your throat, out your left toes. And no one pinpointed place feels the most tension. Keep the weight, or the right hand rather, on the block. Take your left arm up and add a little side bend with the torso, but keep wrapping the outer left hip forward. So don't turn away from the right side, turn towards it as you lean towards it. You could go forward and to the right, pinky toenail to pinky fingernail, or you can go backward to the right, pinky toenail to like thumb tip, something like that. Then both hands down. I'm going to turn to the camera. Bring the torso over that left knee. Waggle right foot in line with your left knee. Square shape. Right elbow to right knee or hand, or, not and, but or. Maybe you do both, but find your most skillful action. Brainstem, feeling, registering sensation, not thinking something's better than something else. Left arm goes all the way overhead. Come on up. You could do a down dog. I'm going to do hands on blocks dog. It cantilevers more weight into the legs, making life easier on the shoulders and giving me a little better opportunity to open the backs of my knees. I have some stiffness there, generally speaking. And then the left foot steps forward and that right shin is long on the floor. Tall blocks under hands. And reach the toes as if you could slide that leg back further. Turning on the hamstring, maybe you feel a firming or a gathering behind the right thigh bone. And inviting the sense of length from the toenails to the throat. Maybe to the back of your front teeth. As you tip your face up. Left hand holds the block. Right arm up and over. Straight to the left. You could go forward and to the left. From leg to outer torso. Or you could go backwards and to the left. Leg to like deep center of torso. Torso up, weight over right knee. Keep right knee where it is. Step left foot out to the left. Same deal, you got the square shape. Sometimes I reference this shape as like the front row of the high school football picture. You know what I'm talking about. So left elbow on the knee, unless you're homeschooled your whole life and don't know anything about high school football. Fair enough. Right arm all the way overhead. Pure side body. Down dog. Weight in the knuckles. Knuckles and fingers. Walk your hands back almost to your feet. Take your whole shape back to the back of your mat. Bend your knees like you're going to put them on the floor, but don't. Elbows soft. We're going to do our little bear crawl where the right hand, left knee, right hand, left foot steps, and then left hand, right foot. Just crawling up the mat. When you get to the top, can you punch left foot out underneath you and pull right arm back? And then the other side. And then bear crawl back. Left leg kicks under. Right leg kicks under. Bear crawl forward. Left leg under. Right leg under, crawl back. Left leg, right leg, crawl forward. Keep hands there. Step feet back, down dog, plank, lower all the way down. Forehead down. Shoulder blades back and down. Sweep arms back. Resist interlacing, but squeeze hands towards each other. Like you're holding something very precious between the two hands. Don't drop it. Make pubic bone heavy. Shins heavy. Feet heavy. Keep legs heavy. Lift face, lift tonsils, lift lungs, front lungs. Reach back. See if you can do this without squeezing your butt. So if you're already butt squeezing, come on down, undo. Can you use deeper muscles? The glutes, of course, need to be strong, but they're surface, right? Can you get under them? I want to be stronger in my center and soft around the edges, right? So you need good strength in your lateral rotators. Hands down, cat pose, child's pose. Grab your belt. A loop that is shoulder width. Shoulder width can be tricky. If you have a lot of muscles, probably make it a bit wider, tight muscles. If you just have, some fairly natural sinew, you don't have to go too much wider. I'd like you to get the belt above your elbows if you can. And so with your belt above your elbows, your arms are still wide enough that they could be not right next to the side of the body because the belt's there, but they don't disappear behind you. Like you can still see my arms here. All right, now this is going to be the hardest part of the whole class. Can you come down onto your belly with your arms sort of held behind your back? And if you need to see me do it, I just sat down, side hip, one hand down, stretch legs long, belly down. It's not graceful, okay? But here we are, elbows held back by the belt, tops of the feet on the floor, big toes with the longest reach, even if they're shorter than the second toe, pubic bone heavy, shins heavy, press with your hands and bring the front of the lungs forward and up. Shoulders back and down. So if you cannot come up onto your pelvis because your shoulders are not able to slide down the back, then I recommend some of that previous work with the arms behind you in your baby back bend. So in these belly down back bends, shoulders back and down. Can you stay lifted and bend the knees? Toes and head magnetized for 3, 2, 1. Down you go. Release the shins, stretch the arms back, thumbs win the race to the back wall, and then see if you can do your Houdini asana and get the belt off. Down dog. Right foot steps forward, both hands to the inside of the right foot, and spin that left heel to the ground. So the hips have turned open. Let them turn open. Try to turn the pelvis to the left. And keep right hand where it is and maybe crawl left fingers a little more forward. Maybe right hand stays where it is or get a block. And then unfold the left side of your torso so you're stacked on your side, right ribs under, right hip under. Pretty strong side angle. 1 or 2 breaths more. Wrapping outer left foot into the floor. Circle left arm around. Let it pull you up. 10 toes straight ahead. Hands on hips. Soften the knees. Feel into the lung tissue. Where's the breath go? flow. Send the oxygenated blood through the body. Feel it pulsing. Folding, elbows hug back, nose towards floor. Nose and elbows diametrically opposed. Thighs really strong. Bring your hands down. Keep the right foot as it is. Turn the left toes, turn the left leg open, external. And the two hands come to the inside of that left foot. Let the hips be open. Open the right hip. Turn the pelvis to the right. Keep left hand where it is and stretch the right arm long. How much space through right side, and then unfold it. So side bending to the left. Stacking right ribs, right hip on top of left ribs and hip. Circle the arm up, back, this time all the way down to step back. If you want your vinyasa cycle, take it. But ideally there's some yoging, there's kind of some connection as to why, maybe not why, but whether or not it's skillful, whether or not it's necessary. Why is often overrated. From here, right foot steps, spin the left heel flat. You might grab your blocks for Parshvottanasana. So we're going to stay on the midline. So if your left hip is turned back, lasso that left hip, rein it in. Turn left hip towards your right foot. And then take the whole low belly back towards your tail and lengthen the front of your spine. Can you find, feel, connect with the front of your spine? Back of spine is real easy to find and real easy to lengthen here. Can you lengthen the front of your spine? We're going to do a little Parshvottanasana Vinyasa here. You might need your blocks. So inhale, go longer on the horizon here. And as you exhale, fold down from the hips any amount. So you may have just descended an inch or two. Then, bending the right knee, cat pose your spine. Try to bring your forehead to your knee. Keep the forehead and knee connected and really straighten that right leg. That should be an exhale. Inhale, unfurl the spine, lengthen it on the horizon. Exhale, fold down from the hips, even if it's only an inch. Bend the knee, breathe in. Exhale as you straighten the leg, keep curling in. Stay here, inhale. Spinal flexion. Inhale, unfurl. Exhale, fold. The thigh is strong, right thigh, both thighs are strong the whole time. Bend the knee, round the spine, breathe in. Breathe out as you straighten the leg, round the spine more. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend the knee. Round the back. Exhale, keep it. Straighten the leg. One more time, breathe in. Bend the knee. Step back, either through a flow or pause and kneeling. Or hold your dog. Left foot steps, blocks if you need them. Left leg straightens, right hip wraps forward. So blocks, probably really important to achieve that for many of you. A little imaginary helium balloon under the belly and the vector of the tail straight back. Both legs ironing board straight, and that the kneecaps are lifted and the thighs are bulky strong. Lengthen long, inhale. Exhale, fold from the hips. Try not to round your spine too much, because you know that's coming next. As you inhale, bend the kneecap pose, knee and forehead connect, and then exhale, keep the connection as you straighten the leg. Inhale, unfurl. Exhale, fold, front of spine long. Bend knee round the back, connect head and knee. Exhale, stay connected, straighten the leg. Inhale, uncurl. Dos más, exhale. Breathe in, round, connect. Stay connected, exhale. Stay rounded. Unfurl. Rounded spine, forward bends have a place. If you have questions about that, reach out to me. This is the last one. Back to symmetry. We're going to meet in standing. So however you want to get to standing is up to you. We'll meet here. Turn to the side of your mat. I look at my screen every once in a while. There's funny things happening. So hopping is one way to transition from feet together to feet wide, or from down dog to Uttanasana. So let's hop, but as if you are reluctant to land. So when you go from feet together to feet wide, you try to resist landing. So the landing is light, and then back together, and then wide apart, and together and apart. And if hopping is no bueno, then step and squat to one side, right? Whatever you wish here. So either hopping with both, controlling your landing, or squatting right to left like you're moving through honey. Next time, legs are apart, stay. All 10 toes turn to the right, Trikonasana, to the right. Left arm up. And as if you had a wall or a plane of glass, it was like behind your back. And if you could slide your hand down it and keep the hand in line with the back plane of the body. So elbow straight back, and then slide it up. So if I showed you a front view, when I slide my hand back, I'm trying to keep the hand behind the plane of the body. How am I doing? It's pretty good, actually. Up and down. Go back to my original facing. Down and up, and you can maybe look towards it as the hand comes down, and maybe look towards the floor as the hand goes up. Can you change your focus and not lose your balance? Up you come. Hop together. Hop apart. Hop together. Or you're stepping apart and stepping together. Stay apart. All 10 toes. That's another old habit. Turn both legs. It's not just your toes to the left. Trikonasana to the left. Right arm up. That same sliding hand sliding along a pane of glass against the back body. Look up as the hand comes back and down, and look down as the hand goes up. Turn the ribs. Scoop left sit bone under. And can you keep left shoulder blade from sneaking under? Can you keep left shoulder blade back? Up and down, one more time. Up and up you come. Hop right together. Stay together, knees bent, hands together. Both, nope, just left elbow to the outside of that right knee. And ideally, you can keep the knees stuck together. They don't slide or veer. And you could drop the right fist in the left palm and use that connection to get a little push hand to hand to turn. And as if you had some sort of resistaband between the two hands, can you pull that resistaband long and pull left hand down to the floor and right arm to the sky. Hips are low, hips are low. Right hand circles down, under forward, catches the left. Torso up, hips are low. Whew, come to stand. How's your yoga? How's your connection? Mine feels a little scattered. Talking the whole time is hard. I'm looking forward to the Zoom classes where I'm doing less, talking just as much. Hop apart or step apart and together. Right together, stay together. Right elbow. Without the knee sliding, tucks down, drop left fist in right palm. Feel the power of pushing into the twist. It gets you so far, gets me so far. But this pulling action, left arm up, right arm down, like you're pulling a stretchy band between the two arms. Left hand circles back, under, torso up, arms up, and then stand up. Catch your belt. Away. Make a big loop. If you only have a 4-foot belt, then your options are significantly limited. 6-foot belt will also limit you. I'd like everyone to have a 10-foot belt, period. But whatever you got, you might just make your belt loop as wide as it can be. So here's my 10-foot belt. Now, like, I'm 5'4", so the belt's almost fully extended in its loop for me to get my full wingspan with my belt. So you might just have a long belt and hold on to it. So what I'd like you to do, get the buckle off to the side. Be able to put both ends of that loop behind your head and be able to, I'm actually shortening my belt, be able to take your two arms up and have your head cradled in your belt. So neck extension. I'm on a mission for yoga students to be able to extend their necks. If we can't extend our necks, we have lost a significant step in our evolutionary journey. Okay, so from here, hands on hips, belts just set on your shoulders, step or hop, your feet wide apart. Now, the action is going to be Vira 1 to Vira 1, Warrior 1 to Warrior 1. But can you take your head back, take your arms up, and look at a bullseye on the ceiling? Turn
left toes towards the right. Turn the whole body to the right. Bend into the right knee, still keeping your gaze up. So what is your capacity to yoga with the lower body while you're looking up? Straighten right leg, do a 180, gazing up. Bend into left knee. Warrior one. One more time each side. Straighten. If you need a respite, take one here. If you need a break, take one. Oh, loop has to be much shorter than I thought. I'm surprised. But now that I'm in it, it makes sense to me. A lot of the arm length is taken up by the back body here. So set your aim, look up, head fully supported. Turn body to the right. Left leg's a little externally rotated. Bend right knee. Straighten. Keep looking up. Turn to the left. Bend left knee. Both hands down, lose the belt, step back. Both dogs if you wish it, weight in the knuckles. Right foot steps forward. Warrior one. Bend the torso over right thigh, looking over your thumbs. Warrior three. Get your back leg up before the straightening of the front leg. Hamstrings engaged, thighs engaged. For 3, 2, 1. Left leg back, hands down. You decide if you want both dogs or not. Left foot steps forward, right heel down. Warrior one. If you can, just like when we had the belt, swallowing's important. It's a good litmus test. Lean the torso forward. Warrior three. Back leg up before front leg straightens. For 3, 2, 1. Down you go. I'm going to pause in kneeling. Okay. From here, Supta Virasana. So stage one is to be able to sit on the heels. If you cannot sit on the heels, then come to your belly just now, okay? If you can sit on your heels, can you sit in between your heels? Which is an internal rotation of the thigh bones. Now you could take your blocks and set up some sort of support system, like one block under your kidneys, the other one under your head. Right, you could do this kind of thing. For support, those of you who I invited to come to your belly, I think if you go to Sphinx pose and do one thigh at a time, stretching it in, pulling one thigh in at a time. Some of you are using support. Others of us are just taking our time to go back. And there's this critical moment. Critical. It's not critical, but it's an important moment where you go from sitting on your sit bones to moving your sit bones to
point towards your knees. So if you have any kind of booty, you might have to manually send that buttock flesh towards your knees. And you make your way back however you can, safely, with support or not. And then with the two arms to the sky, reach to touch the ceiling. Shoulder blades protract. Keep them protracted as you reach, arms all the way overhead. Now, opposite the ribs. Ribs are going towards knees. Arms are going away from knees. Front ribs, specifically, towards knees. Back ribs away from knees. And if you can get the back of your hands on the floor, keep trying to wrap the outer armpits towards the ceiling. So it might feel like you're sort of setting the head of the arm bone back into the socket. The inner shoulder spins towards the floor behind you. You could come onto the thumb side of the hands to help that feeling. And then it's like if you can get that outer armpits towards ceiling, sinking the head of the arm bone back, then simply rotate the forearms and keep the upper arms organized. I'm working hard here. Like if I were to stop working, my belly would pop up, my elbows would bend. So it's not necessarily easy or fun or comfortable, and nor is life ever supposed to be easy or fun or comfortable. I mean, it's not supposed to be anything. It simply is. So hindbrain, brainstem, how is it now? Rather than, I wish it was some other way. I mean, those thoughts are inevitable. So include those thoughts. See them for what they are. And then settling into the deeper being, and let the surface body soften, become a little more permeable to reality. And you keep your little abode deep inside yourself. You invite others in, select others to join you in this portable refuge right in your own skin. Can I include this too? All right, gang. Up and out. So those of you who are belly down, I hope you switched legs at some point. If you didn't, you better do so now. Those of us who are belly up, we're taking our time. And then I vote it's either plank pose or down dog or both. Or both dogs. Weight in the knuckles. Breath in the heart of each lung. Now, I hope you have a slidey surface. If you do not have a slidey surface, you're just going to have to make do. Slidey surface people, fold your mat in half. Catch your blanket. Unfold your blanket so it's a big rectangle. So it's folded in eighths. If you can get that, fold it in half once, twice, 3 times. It's folded in eighths. Lay your hips, your hips, your spine, your head probably won't fit on it. I like arms long, and I can hold on to the edge of the blanket here. Feet hip width right on your sticky mat. So those of you who don't have a sliding surface, you're simply going to do hips up, bridge, sustain the bridge, hips down. You're just going to come in and out of bridge. Those of us who can slide, push the body away. Don't go very far because you got to pull it back. Then push away and pull back. And push away and pull back. And push away and pull back. Land your hips. Catch your block. Everyone, block between hands, widthwise. Shove block into ceiling, like you want to stick it there, like you want to scrape the ceiling paint off the wall as you slide it overhead. Reach it overhead, hover it overhead, hover it. Not overhead to ceiling, but overhead to the opposite wall, and like you're trying to hand it off to someone. Reaching, reaching, reaching. Hips stay where they are. And from the reach, can you find your way to your tail? So it's deeply integrated. And if you can find your way from your reach to your tail, you can find your way from your reach to your feet. Deeply yoked. Arms up. Block down. Hips up and sliding bridges or pulsing bridges. Pause, hips down. This time block on your belly widthwise. Catch it with your elbows. Keep holding the block with your elbows while you place your hands beside your head. So as you can see, perhaps you can surmise we're going towards Urdhva Dhanurasana, or what people call wheel pose. It really translates to upward facing bow. Upward facing bow is how I learned it. It's what I call it. Call it what you want. Doesn't matter. But placing the hands here and keeping the elbows hugged in is pretty important. So from here, in theory, you'd be able to push up with your elbows this close together. That same idea of dropping the head of the arm bone back. So you could loose the block and go back to bridge sliders or bridge pulses, or put a block under your hips for supported bridge. Or come up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. So the block drops at some point, right? Really important that when you push up, the elbows don't splay terribly. Another way to play with this is supported bridge pose into the shape, right? So you already have some lift. You could turn fingers out to the side when you place them by your head. And then much of the work is already done, right? You really want to get the weight in the feet, and then the arms have very little to do. Now your journey down to land on the block again might be precarious. Let's try one more. I'm going to lose all the gear. And I'm going to go from the ground up. You might just be hanging out in supported bridge. Alright, maybe you do one more. I feel good about it. I'm draping my arms across my body, knees knocked together. Pause. Feel into the lung tissue. Brighten it. How's your capacity for interoception? Can you feel the heartbeat? And can you feel and be with your heartbeat and the breath? Heart moving, lungs moving. And what about all the blood being moved by the heart and lungs? And that goes everywhere, everywhere. Deep inside the liver, flowing through the kidneys, all the way to the skin, all the way into the caverns of the hollows of the bones. you need a little more release, perhaps you've already done it, you've hugged your knees in. Catch your belt and take your right leg vertical. Like, don't bring it towards your face, just vertical. I'm not trying to stretch your hamstrings here. Do that later, maybe this afternoon. But what I'd like to do is possibly take some pressure out of the lumbar. So if your leg is vertical, you can't hold it with your hand unless you have unusually long arms. Left hand holds the belt, right thumb hooks into the crease of the right hip, shoving hip crease towards your long left leg. And then the right leg simply swings across the body a few inches, anywhere from 2 to 8 inches. You might let the right butt cheek float off. I like to actually keep mine stuck. I like to try to find the SI joint, staying down. I'm switching sides. Stay longer if you like. I know my left side needs it more. So left leg, when you get there, it's vertical. Left thumb in the hook of the hip, wrapping outer hip towards right toes. And then the right leg guides that left leg across a bit. And then from here, you want a belt. This one's tough to teach in this medium. So, you might already be done. Thank you, I love you. But I call this Sacrum Surfing, and you might take a look here. The belt loop has to be just the right length so that I'm holding it with my little trident fingers, the first 3 fingers of each hand. That's the only working part, and a little bit my forearms. But my arms are pulled long, my shoulders are pulled down, and my lumbar is off the floor. My sacrum has a lot of weight in it. Legs are soft, they're just hooked in here. So notice how far my legs are from me. They're like 45 degrees from the floor. And there's a really sweet spot where just the work of the hands is all that's needed to depressurize the lumbar, to integrate the sacrum, hip sockets snuggled up with the thigh bones. I feel the widening of my brainstem and like the widening of my molars. If you can't find the sweet spot, just give up, let it go, come to a resting position. And if ever I get to lay eyes on you, I can perhaps help you access this sweet spot more readily. At whatever point you're ready to be done, landing in your resting pose, you could use your blanket behind your knees for support. And the yoging is always potentiated. We can always connect to something. In theory, and so simply checking your awareness space. Remember, it comes from the brainstem, not from the frontal lobes. You can let nature be your inspiration, the way birds just gaze out from treetops, waiting, abiding in their natural beauty, as you are now abiding in your natural beauty. Connecting with all the amazing phenomena unfolding inside of you. And trusting in the amazing phenomena that's unfolding all around you. The stuff we like, the stuff we don't like.
the stuff we don't understand. Just keep connecting, keep trusting, keep resting. Thank you. I love you. Namaste.